You're listening to a Pop House Network podcast for developers by developers.
Hello and welcome to the Stack Podcast, episode number 70, recorded on December 8th, 2023. I'm your host, Kito Mann, and I'm here with one of my co-hosts, Josh Juneau. Hey, Josh, how's it going?
Not too bad. How are you?
I am doing okay. What have you been up to the last several weeks?
Well, we had a U.S. holiday, so saw some family, putting up decorations for Christmas time, things like that. Lots of basketball. My son has been in basketball, and now my other son is starting basketball, so lots of that. So keep him busy.
I remember trying to coordinate with you, and you were like, "Oh, basketball."
Yeah. Lots of basketball.
Yes.
How about you?
Well, we did have Thanksgiving too, and lots of turkey, which is nice. And family, which was good. Actually, a lot of family because lots of cousins and little kids and stuff. So that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
And not just keeping busy with clients, doing a lot of the same sort of things as usual. So it's been all good. Unfortunately, our other two co-hosts are not here, Ian and Dana. Hopefully we'll see them next time. But we do have a very special guest, Grace Jansen, who is a Java champion and an advisory developer advocate. I'm curious to see what that means.
Hey, good to join you guys. Thanks for having me on the podcast today.
I'm very glad to have you.
Thanks for being here.
I saw you, Grace, at some conference you did a session at, and I honestly don't remember what it was or what conference.
It made an impression, clearly.
Yes, it made an impression, and I was like, "Hey, this person's pretty cool."
Thanks.
And I've seen you, over the last few years. So I'm really glad to have you on the show.
It's lovely to join you guys. It's so nice to be able to do this again, also in a virtual fashion, so that, it's always hard getting across the pond for me, especially. So it's nice to be able to sort of, reconnect with you guys and join you.
Yeah. So you're based in the UK.
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody knows where London is. So where are you in relation to London?
As soon as I say no one has a clue where I live. I live in a city called Southampton.
Okay, I've heard of that one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. A lot of people, they either know it for the football team, Saints. A lot of people follow the football here, or I should say soccer, perhaps.
Yes.
Or they know it because it's actually where the Titanic sailed from.
Okay.
Our little claim to fame.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where I live. It's about an hour and a half by train to London. I'm on the south coast. So not too far.
That helps. See, just the reference to London, I can now picture, because I have a client, and in London, not in London, I'm sorry, in England, in the UK, I was going to London for Jack's London a while ago, and I didn't really mention it to them because I figured they weren't that close, and they're like, "Oh, we're like an hour away by train." I'm like, "Oh, geez, sorry, I didn't."
London's got such good connections that I feel like most of the UK is not that far away from London.
Yeah, I need to remember that for next time. So
I've never been over there myself. Never been over there.
Never been there?
But
no way.
My daughter has been there. She got to go to Europe with the Girl Scouts. But
cool.
My wife and I have never traveled over there. And so it's amazing to me that you can travel through several countries in the amount of time it takes us to travel across an entire state here. So that is amazing.
Yeah, literally. I mean, I was just in Edinburgh this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So pretty easy to get there. It's pretty cool. And even traveling across England, within the space of an hour, you could have gone through 5 different regional accents, and they all sound very different. Yeah.
That is awesome.
So do you find that you have more opportunities to go to live conferences over there, in-person conferences? Are there more around you that you're able to attend since it's such a smaller area? Or
yeah, I would say so. Especially because Europe's fairly easy to get to. There's not that many Java specific conferences. There are a lot of conferences that happen in London, but I would say sort of generally one for each language or one for each type. So like there might be an architecture session or conference.
Right.
But it's pretty easy. Like we can get the Eurostar or fly from London or Gatwick to pretty much most places, especially in Europe. So yeah, it does make access to things like conferences, education, or just vacations pretty nice and easy. Very lucky.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, if you ever get to come over, Josh, you'll have to tell me and I'll host you in London.
Excellent. I'll take you up on that.
Yes,
Yeah,
you've got to at least go to the UK, dude. Come on now.
Yeah, no, I've got to get over there. And I know I have lots of contacts over there, especially, mostly in the Java community, Pyra and everyone. But it seems like here in the US, the reason I was asking is because it seems like the Java conferences are so spread out here. And there aren't too many that have really come back since COVID, right?
Yeah.
Kito, I mean, we've got on the East Coast a couple, and maybe a couple on the West Coast. There might be a few in the middle from here or there, but not very. They're kind of hard to get to.
I think Pratik and Vincent are doing a good job of sort of trying out different markets.
Indeed.
So don't they have one in Texas soon? I think
they do.
I think yeah. So I think but you're right. It's not like we're not super plentiful, and No Fluff Just Stuff has been coming back, but it's been slow. I think so.
It's been a totally different story here in Europe, where conferences like DevOps Belgium, for example, sell out in literally seconds, which is insane.
Wow.
And there's a lot of them in lots of different places. So we're quite lucky that the community and conference scene is quite vibrant here in Europe.
Yeah, that's cool.
Good.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a few news items this time around, and then we can pick Grace's brain, which will always be fun. So first up, we got some industry news, and probably the biggest one affecting us folks in sort of the enterprise software and Java space would be the Broadcom acquisition of VMware. VMware and largely the whole Pivotal / Spring Source group. I know I'm mentioning ancient names, but anyway, so all the Spring folks work at VMware. So what happens with that group is very important to the community. When did the acquisition close? Do you guys know? How recently?
It was only a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay. November.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here.
Yeah. I has anyone got an impression of what Broadcom is intending to do, like what their plan is, or we're just sort of reading in between the lines?
Yeah,
I haven't seen anything. Mostly just what's been happening on Twitter.
Yeah.
I've not seen anything specific either. I mean, you could kind of try and guess as to what their thoughts are on the whole situation, but to me, it's just pretty amazing and kind of unforeseen acquisition, in my opinion. That Broadcom is picking up VMware, but I guess in one sense, if they're talking about virtualization and virtual machines and containers and data warehouses with these types of things, Broadcom is into the networking. So I guess that those two could go together, could have some solutions in that area. Cloud, of course, is definitely a big thing right now. And of course, Broadcom may be doing, of course, something with that. However, I from what I've seen and stuff, I think it seems like in the environmental change for some of the folks that are at Pivotal and Pivotal VMware are it's quite a change. So I'm just wishing the best for everyone, and hopefully things will come to a position where everyone, both sides, all sides of that acquisition can work together well, and everything will continue to go forward because the VMware team has been amazing for the Java community, and I would love to see it continue to grow and flourish and get even better and stronger under Broadcom if things work out well.
Yeah, and I was just looking at, actually, it even says VMware by Broadcom now, looking at the site. But yeah, and Broadcom is one of those companies that, like, I don't really know what they do. I see their name all over the place.
Yeah.
But,
I remember them directly from, I used to work on desktops, desktop support for a number of years, and NIC cards and such. They had, they made hardware for networking. And so I'm guessing that it's something to do with, cloud, of course, with VMware and everything.
yeah.
Made sense, probably.
I am just looking at this site. It's just an amazing amount of different products. It's
Yes, they've got a big portfolio.
sort of like a mini IBM, actually.
I've heard there's a lot of this about.
Yes, so with a lot of more hardware, though. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. It's funny because I remember VMware from in the early 2000s. I worked at a startup, and I like built the technology team there and stuff. But that was before we had all these cool machines, and like what we did for our test lab was we actually bought real hardware, because our clients were school systems. So I was like, well, let's get some old crappy computers because that's what they have there. So we know how well our stuff runs on old crappy computers, right? So that's what we bought. But once we got like in ops, well, it was more like IT guys at that stage back then. They're like, hey, we should do all this using VMware, and it was like this cool new thing. We were like, oh yeah, we could use VMware, and yeah, looking at where it is now, it's pretty amazing. So
yeah, I definitely remember doing the same thing with the virtual machines and whatnot in VMware from the Mac. And I think, I'm not sure if it's still this way, but Docker, when you installed it onto a server, a Windows server, it used to install VMware. And it was actually using VMware behind the scenes for the containers. But that was in the early days of Docker, and I don't use it really on Windows anymore, so I'm not really sure.
I imagine it's more streamlined now, but who knows?
I'm sure.
Yeah. It's interesting with with open source, because it's like the software that team has built has had such a huge impact on the community, on like so many systems, so many applications, so many companies, right? But they haven't really had a consistent revenue source directly tied to that product for a long time. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
It's kind of similar to the Oracle and the Sun Microsystems acquisition in a way, with Java and such, and things that definitely turned out, in my opinion, pretty well with that. Over the years, things have gotten much better. It was
I think it took some time.
Yeah, very, very nerve-wracking for a few years there, not knowing exactly what was going to happen with Java. But in my opinion, Oracle has really taken off with it and fostered it and brought it up and done a good job with it. So hopefully this will be a similar situation here.
Yep, I certainly hope so.
Yep.
All right, so moving on, server-side Java. Jakarta EE 11 is in process. I think they're talking about milestone 1 soon.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I think it's meant to be in 2024, right? Maybe first quarter.
Is it first quarter? Let's see.
I'm trying to have a look. Yeah. Target release date is first quarter.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So pretty soon, which is exciting.
Yeah, and so this will be like the second release of Jakarta EE that has new features, which is pretty exciting.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do with the virtual threads, making that, hopefully the performance, I think, is going to really pick up on, not that it's bad right now in Jakarta EE applications, but I'm thinking they're going to do amazing things with it.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. And the thing is, a lot of the servlet engines like Tomcat and Jetty, you can already turn that stuff on.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see what happens integrating into the platform. And like if you look at what Oracle did with Halidon, with when they rewrote the server engine essentially
Mhm.
using virtual threads, they got some huge gains. So
Nice. And I'm also looking forward to using Java records. Hopefully, we can do JPA with records. How sweet would that be? That would be
that'd be
great, wouldn't it?
cool. Yes.
Because those getters and setters, I don't have to write them. NetBeans does it for me. But still,
Oh.
that's code you have to sift through and whatnot. Be nice to get rid of that. And then Jakarta data looks really nice. There was actually, I attended the live stream, Jakarta One live stream a couple of days ago, and there was a great presentation on Jakarta data. It looks
I
really
missed
nice.
that one.
Was that Octavia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was.
Yeah. He's got some great stuff on that. If anyone's interested, go and Google. He's got some great presentations to really introduce it.
For
Well,
sure.
and also though, so for those who don't know what Jakarta data is, does anyone want to take a stab at explaining it?
From my understanding, it's essentially a way to be able to have sort of a way of being able to have flexibility between NoSQL and SQL databases so that you don't have to necessarily pick one or the other for your application. You can potentially have a mix of both if you need to. Josh, you want to add anything or?
Nope, I think that was a great summary. I think that's
Cool.
exactly what it is try to abstract away the details of utilizing the different types of data storage.
Right, and
Yeah,
essentially,
so hopefully more flexibility.
Yes.
and it's sort of like, I mean, it's essentially the repository pattern, right? So it's similar to the repository classes in Spring. That's my understanding. But if I remember correctly, the Spring people were involved with this, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't lead it, but they were involved, which I think is awesome. And to me, what I'm hoping is that this will be sort of the first one where we get Spring back involved, because for those who don't know, Spring initially, and still uses a lot of Jakarta EE APIs underneath the hood. And in the earlier days of Spring, they were involved with the development of those APIs. But things changed over time. And now Spring has a lot of APIs which are not involved with Jakarta EE, although it still uses them underneath. But I'd love to see some standards sort of evolve to include support and new support for new features on the Spring side, or existing Spring features become Jakarta EE standards. I think that would be awesome. So
yes, I agree.
What else do we have in Jakarta 11?
There's some unification going on as well. So utilizing CDI under the covers for more of the APIs to bring together unification between Java EE and sort of more of the, say, older or more established would be maybe a kind of way of saying it. APIs. Yeah. Because obviously CDI wasn't there when some of these were created. So being able to utilize that as the foundation to be able to provide a consistent unification across all the APIs, I think will be really nice when it comes to actually, if you've got maybe an older application you're trying to modernize or you're using a mix of both, having that unification, I think is going to be a really nice developer experience and help with that sort of, unifying those two sort of almost ages of Java, you could say.
So is that the same area as getting rid of EJB? Because I think EJBs are going to go away, correct? And that's going to be taken over, well, not taken over, but the APIs are going to be placed into CDI, correct?
Yeah, from understanding, yeah.
That'll be really nice.
I was thinking about that because, we've been working on the Jakarta EE tutorial. The link is in the show notes if anyone's interested. And I'll also put a link in the show notes for the contributions section if you want to work on documentation. It's really fun.
Oh, nice.
But I was thinking about that as we were working on that because, I wrote the intro and I was trying to explain like all this stuff in generic terms to someone who's new, and I basically was like, if you're starting a new application, don't use EJB unless you need like the transaction stuff or like basically distributed transactions, and there's a couple other things that are missing in CDI. for I think 90% of all use cases, 95, you don't really need that stuff right now. So
It'll be great to have that updated documentation, because right now, if you're new coming into things, it's not bad right now. I shouldn't say it's bad, but it's gotten a lot better over the last few years.
yeah,
If you were going into Java EE8 or Jakarta EE8, probably even, and
my
you wanted
God.
to start a new project, that was tough because you didn't know which APIs to use, because of, had so many options with the older, and then so many tutorials with the older material still, and it was hard to get into the newer things. So
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So yeah, we're still updating it, but at least we've got like a modern foundation and the platform, and we're moving forward on it. So
That's good.
it'll be fun. Yeah, and I should also mention along the same lines, there's unifying CDI, but there's also getting rid of like managed beans, which are part of the JSF spec. And what else? Removal of the security manager, and some other features. So what I like about this though is like a lot of technologies don't always get rid of their tech debt. Like we're actually cleaning up tech debt. That's kind of awesome, right? So
Yep. Yeah, that's one thing. I just kind of a side note here. I love Prime Faces. That's the front end for all of my JSF applications, or Jakarta Faces. Sorry. However, I'm not sure if the demos still have managed beans or not, but the last time I looked, they were still using managed beans, and so it'll be interesting to see those change over. I've obviously been using CDI for years now and whatnot. I'm just surprised those are still not changed over, but
I'm sure they'll be happy with a PR from you, Josh.
I'm sure they would. That's exactly what they're going to say after listening to this.
Oh yeah, that's a really good point though.
It was just not just for Prime Faces. I don't mean to pick on that, but and actually I'm looking at them now, and it looks like they're using CDI now. It wasn't. Yeah, they're changed. It wasn't too long ago they were still managed beans, but it will be nice to see all the things switching over to use the new. So it was kind of just joining into that previous comment I had on the documentation.
Yeah, and also I should mention this. So we have one project where we have a Prime Faces app, but there's also a lot of Spring in the back end of Spring Boot. And I should mention you can use them together. There's actually a project called JoinFaces, which makes it easy to use Spring Boot and JSF together.
Nice.
So I'll add that to show notes as well. And it's actually pretty easy to have CDI interoperate with Spring. So we actually have Baki Schultz, who's on our team. He wrote a little CDI, what's the word? Extension, right? So that we could basically use the OmniFaces view scope inside of the beans, even though they're all Spring. So just remember, like, this stuff actually works well together if you do it right. So
yes.
All right, let's move on to some front end news. Since Ian, our front end guru, is not here, I have one front end thing to add. This actually came out in October, but I think it's still worth mentioning. So anyone who listens to this podcast knows that although I will work with front end frameworks like Angular or React or Vue, etc., I'm a big fan of web components because they run inside of the browser and don't have as much extra JavaScript doing stuff. And the library I like to use is Lit, which is from Google. It's open source as well, of course. And Lit 3 is now out, or it's basically being launched. It's not actually production ready, I don't think, or maybe it is production ready. But it's interesting. One of the big changes, though, is they're starting to use TC39 decorators. And so these are the decorators that are actually in JavaScript, that they've been in TypeScript forever. And then like a lot of things, TypeScript comes out with cool feature or some other JavaScript dialect or add-on, and then they add it to the language, same way we do with Java. And so it's supporting those decorators. And I've not used these because I've been using the TypeScript ones for many, many years. So I'm really curious to see, how that works out. I'm not really familiar with the details of how they're different, but they are a little bit different. So there's that. They've got a new compiler that's a lot faster. And integration with preact signals, which if I were doing more front-end development, I'd be more familiar with. but it's like a reactive primitive for managing application state. So some more reactive stuff going on there. So they've got that, and they've also added a context, which sounds a little bit like the React context, but not exactly. So some more cool features there. So if you're interested in web components or just other front-end frameworks and things like that, you should check that out. All right, so moving on to tools. Josh.
Not really a tool here, I guess, per se, but I just wanted to mention the Kotlin advent of code is going on in December. And if we don't listen to this until later, then it is all on YouTube. The interesting thing is that every day there is a new lesson in Kotlin. And I think Java is also doing something similar. They usually do.
They're doing articles.
Articles, yes.
Okay.
So always a great time, to kind of get out there and look at things and learn something new, possibly. One interesting thing I want to note about the Kotlin advent is that it is all on YouTube and quite long. I did start watching a couple of them, but they're over an hour long, each of these videos, and they really get into the details of how to do these different things in Kotlin. So very good tutorials. Kotlin's pretty good, pretty well documented anyway, but it's just good stuff.
Very cool. We should also mention if you're curious about Jakarta EE or microprofile or other related technologies, the Jakarta One live stream should be on YouTube by the time this comes out. So that took place this week, and I didn't speak there, but I audited a little bit. I know you were there too, Josh, right?
Yeah, I was watching it. Lots of good sessions, good information on what's already there and what's coming, and definitely something you'll want to catch up on with YouTube if you haven't checked it out already.
There was one I saw a little bit of, which was like Enterprise Kotlin, right? Like Jakarta EE with Kotlin.
With Mads. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, so that's what made me think of it. So if you're curious about that, you should check that out as well.
Yeah, that was a great session.
Yeah.
Mads is awesome.
Yep, indeed.
All right, Grace, you got one for us.
Yeah. So literally a few days ago, I guess it's a bit more than a few days ago now, but November 30th, we released our newest version of the Liberty tools for IntelliJ. So it's a plugin. So if you guys are using IntelliJ and you're using Liberty as your runtime, then definitely check out the Liberty tools. It's all open source, so you can check it out on GitHub. I have put the link in there, so hopefully it'll be in the notes for straight to the marketplace. You can download that. But we've got some cool new features in there, some improvements, some new features, more compatibility with the newest versions of IntelliJ. So yeah, check it out for basically just easier use of sort of running, coding, maintaining your application within the IDE, utilizing things like Liberty Dev Mode, so that hot reload to be able to automatically sort of see code and configuration changes as they occur. Also being able to also start it in containers if you want to, straight from the IDE. So we have a cool dashboard that comes with it that lets you do all of those actions, so you never have to leave the IDE. So great for productivity and sort of ease of use. So definitely check it out. We're quite passionate about it, so please do go let us know what you think of it if you do try it, because we're always looking for improvements.
Yeah, I want to check this out now. I think next time, I often do demos these days with Quarkus, but maybe I should use Liberty next time.
Give it a try.
Yeah.
We'd love you to.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to get started. We've got a getting started project. So a starter project. So literally within a few minutes, fairly easy to get started. And you can actually utilize the Liberty extension as well within to be able to utilize this tools allows you to use the starter project directly in some of the IDEs. So you don't even need to go to the website and stuff. So like it's pretty cool, pretty useful. And yeah, would recommend. So check it out.
So for anyone who's not really familiar, what can you tell us like what Liberty is in general?
Yeah, of course. So Liberty is a cloud native runtime. Many of you guys may have heard of WebSphere, and I'm sad to say it might not bring back necessarily positive memories, which we understand. It wasn't necessarily built for cloud native or agile development. So that's why Liberty was created, really, to put the developer first and to try and create a lightweight, modular runtime that really is built for the cloud. So it's kind of really just there to help you build applications that are, let's say, cloud native. They might be microservice based, but Liberty can also support lots of different architectural styles, monoliths, macroservices. Now that we're kind of off the microservice hype train, there might be other architectural styles that people are interested in. So
by service, so that's what I say.
Yeah, exactly. So any size service,
Yes.
Liberty can do. So yeah, definitely check it out. It's very performant, very lightweight. It's modular, so you can just pick and choose what you want, and it's compatible with the open source specifications like MicroProfile, Jakarta EE, all that great stuff. We're really active and involved in those open source communities. And actually, Liberty is often I've lost my words now. What do you call it when it's the implementation for many of the first of those APIs? Forgotten the word for it now. But we are for Jakarta data. So we're the reference.
Yeah,
That's
reference
the word.
implementation. Yes.
Yeah. So we're the reference implementation for Jakarta data. So that new spec that we were talking about. So if you see any demos and stuff, that will be running with Liberty.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool, exciting stuff. We've got a website. So check out the website on liberty.io, openliberty.io. And we've also got social, and I run it. So if you follow us, I'll say hi. Yeah.
All right, very cool. And you know, you just I'm sorry, go ahead, Josh.
I was just going to say I've used it a few times just to play around with. Unfortunately, I haven't really picked it up for everyday usage, but it does work really nice, smooth, easy to use. And seems like it works well with containers or just running on a server or however you want to do it. And I really like the logo. I've got a t-shirt and that's one of my favorite shirts.
Oh, I'm glad.
It is a good logo. It is.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. It works well on slides, on t-shirts, stickers, the whole lot. Yeah, it works really well. Is Kito going to get his t-shirt?
I think he is.
I have this collection of stickers back there. So I have the
nice
right there. See,
very nice.
I mean, how cool is that? It's kind of there we go.
It's great because you can do so many plays on the space theme when it comes to like conference topics, articles. Yeah. It's a great one to use. I should mention actually that like you were saying about how it works in lots of different environments, Josh, and there's kind of a deliberate reason for that, and that's, we're trying to cater for a lot of different enterprise applications that are in different stages of modernization, or different stages of maybe they're just staying on more enterprise tech, or maybe they're brand new in greenfield. Right. And we've got something that is fairly unique in terms of we've got zero migration, which is the architecture style that we've got. So it means that you don't have to do any code or configuration changes to be able to move up a version of Liberty. So it really allows you to be able to stay current and have those security updates without actually having huge amounts of work that you have to necessarily put in to be able to move up to those versions. So we put a lot of effort into that. So hopefully it'll help you guys out if you're looking at trying to stay current, but not necessarily needing all the newest features all at once.
I had before we started recording, I had a couple of things I was saying, which is that I've worked in a lot of environments where we use the old WebSphere. What do they call it? WebSphere Classic, or I forgot what they call it, but the old WebSphere. And I remember when Liberty came out and how impressed I was with how like well designed and modular it was. And I think I was at one conference and they were happy to show that they could fit it on a thumb drive.
Yeah.
Which
if you know Holly Cummins, so before she moved to Red Hat, she was in our team and she made loads of different creations where it was like inside a little ball that she could throw, and it was inside like a car that she could drive, and yeah, we have a load of different ones like that Holly's created. So yeah,
So
it is fun to use.
Nice.
we tried to use it. We had a not really a modernization, but a more like get this application on something that has support project. Um, and we tried to move to Liberty, but we needed like Jack's RPC support because it was that.
Oh, okay.
So we had to stick with WebSphere 9. So yeah, but we tried.
Well, hopefully you'll get to use it in the future.
Yes, I'm sure I will. All right, so also in tools news, Apache NetBeans, Josh.
Yeah, just a quick note that Apache NetBeans 20 should be out by the time you listen to this or watch this podcast. Lots of real fixes in this release. A lot of people working on Apache NetBeans for Gradle. We have some Jakarta EE fixes, Maven, lots of 21 updates in this feature, this release. So I think it's a good one to pick up. I've been using it for a while now for development. I haven't run into any issues. It seems quicker. I really love the Git support has really gotten much more mature in the last couple of releases. So it's pretty nice. So I would take a look at it if you're into using NetBeans.
You know what? I am actually going to download NetBeans now. I have not looked at it in a long time. It'd be fun to play with.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, cool. Nice. The last bit of tool news we have is that the JetBrains AI service or AI assistant is I think actually released now. So it was in beta for a while. And of course, now they have a jetbrains.com/AI page with all sorts of wonderful AI features. But basically, the AI assistant, the main thing is it has a little chat, and then it also has features like writing your commit comments, and a few other little features in there. But it's, you know, I have this talk now on AI coding assistants, and you know, basically every IDE is going to have some chat either via like, there's already like 20 plugins for VS Code and JetBrains that have some sort of chat. So we're going to have some sort of chat built in, and JetBrains is pretty good. It's pretty nice to just have it as part of the platform. So now I'm gotten in some situation where I can't log in. I get in this infinite loop. Like it was working fine, and then it's just like I log in and it says you've been whitelisted. And it's like, but I was off the whitelist, and that's so anyway. So I can't try it anymore, but hopefully they'll fix that problem. So yeah, JetBrains AI assistant. I think that comes with any commercial like purchased JetBrains product. So all right. So moving on to AI ML items. Someone put the venerable LangChain new LangChain4J project. I think that's you, Grace.
Yeah. I think Quarkus have just released the ability to be able to utilize this project, which is pretty exciting. You know, first kind of use of it within like an application server or framework. So it's interesting to see how this, you know, where people are going to go with this in terms of utilizing ML and AI in their own Java applications. Yeah, I can see if I can find the link to the Quarkus blog that came out. Cool. To be able to link that in there. But yeah, they've now got an extension to be able to actually integrate those LLMs into Quarkus applications. So yeah, super interesting and cool. I don't know if people already know about the LangChain4J library, or
I think it's worth talking about. I think we've mentioned it before, but please enlighten us.
So essentially, it's kind of like a Java re-implementation of the LangChain library, which was kind of used by other languages. So being able to utilize it in Java to have access to things like Hugging Face, to be able to access sort of large language models, and sort of the ability to be able to utilize machine learning and AI within Java applications. That's how I describe it. I don't know if you guys would.
That sounds good to me. And that's I'm saying as if I've worked with it. I've not. I watched the DevOps Belgium presentation on it, And I was like, oh, that sounds awesome, but I have not yet worked with it. So, but it sounds pretty handy to me. I was actually, yeah, I can go on and on, but yeah, I'm very curious to see what it's like. And also, my impression is that they've added some features that are more like Java centric, like using annotations and stuff. Which obviously are not a common thing, or I'm not even sure they're even possible in Python. I don't know if they have decorators that I've seen before.
They do, but they're a little different. They're a little different.
Okay. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. And it also like lets you. What I liked about, this is me just regurgitating the presentation that I saw, but is you can. It makes it also not only can you access different LLMs, using a reasonably the same API or similar API, but also it helps you with creating embeddings to provide context for the conversation with them, which is kind of nice. To sort of gives you all the tools you need to like work with it, work with them. So yeah, very cool. All right, our last item is the good old JDK 22.
Yep. JDK 22 is well on its way. And seems like there are going to be another great set of features coming to this. There's quite a few JEPs already part of it. Last count was almost 10. Let me see.
Wow.
Actually 12. So some interesting things. It looks like they're looking into the foreign function and memory API. Of course, will be nice. Unnamed variables and patterns class file API. These are a couple of these are going to be previews. Excuse me. The vector API, stream gatherers, structured concurrency, implicitly declared classes and instance main methods, which will be interesting, and then scope values. So,
didn't Gene mention that last time?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, because it helps with helps you really quickly write a Java program without having all the ceremony, right?
Right. Yep.
It'll
be interesting.
I hadn't seen the class file API. That sounds kind of cool. Provide an API for processing class files. I'm sorry, blah blah blah. Provide a standard API for parsing, generating, and transforming Java class files. That will be interesting. So cool. Yeah, so I often spend a lot of time with my clients trying to convince them to try newer versions of Java. So if you have the chance, you should check them out. There's some awesome features out there. So
definitely, and just so you have an idea, looks like the first release candidate is due out in February 2024, and then the final is due out later at the end of February. So we've got the first is at the beginning, and then the final is at the end of February, and then general availability is going to be the 19th of March is what they're scheduled for.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, and this will be easier. It'll be easier for me to get people to use I'm 21 after it comes out too.
Yeah.
Because I had one client, I was like, you should use 21. Like, it just came out. And so I got them to upgrade to 17. So we can make some progress. All right. So in the last few minutes we have before Grace leaves, I wanted to first of all, thanks you so much for joining us. And glad to have you on. I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, I think didn't you do a podcast with Adam Bean?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So I listened to that one. So I'm curious to see what parts of it you'll repeat here.
Yeah. I guess so. Like, a little bit about me is I took a bit of a weird and sort of round the houses route into technology and software development. I did a biology degree, mostly focusing on fish and marine life. So really comes in handy in software development. No, it was good. It was fun to be able to explore that sort of interest that I had in that degree, but actually ended up doing some modeling during my degree in Python and R. And that's kind of when I realized that actually it was software development that I preferred than the biology side of it. So yeah, joined IBM straight into the world of Java, which I was like, wow, this is interesting. I had never done object-oriented programming, didn't even know what it was, and came into a language that is literally older than I am. I was like, how am I going to learn this all? So it was a really steep learning curve, but it definitely helps that, the community has kept it so vibrant and active, and it's changed so much over the last sort of few years that I kind of learned that actually I didn't have to learn all of it. I didn't necessarily have to learn all of the EJB stuff. I could look at more of the newer innovations and sort of pick up on those parts of it. So yeah, I've been in developer advocacy since joining as a graduate. So that was, goodness, 6 years ago now. Been doing it ever since.
So how did you end up in developer advocacy versus just software engineering?
Yeah, so I actually did an internship at Hersley, which is where I work, the IBM site here. And as part of that internship, we were working with clients. So it's more of a sort of consultancy type internship. So we were coding, I think I was using about 7 different languages at the time, JavaScript, CSS, etc. But also things like Java. And my manager at the time, she was my second line, spotted me because as part of this internship, we had to do regular presentations to the lab. And she'd come along to a couple of them with our progress and kind of spotted me and said, look, I think you have a great mixture of presentation skills, but also of technical knowledge, and a blend of the two could be a role in advocacy. So I was really sort of privileged to be able to join just as they were forming the team. So literally my first day was the team's first day. So it was quite nice. So it was nice to be able to come in and all start from fresh. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. I got quite lucky with being in the right place at the right time, and sort of invited to join this new team, and sort of stayed in it ever since because I love it. I love being able to blend the technical element with storytelling and being able to help people, because really it's kind of, you're there as almost like a teacher, or sort of helping people to be able to utilize features or technologies or tools in a way that helps them. So it can be a really rewarding role to be in, because you get to help people so much in terms of writing content, whether it's documentation, like you were saying, or tutorials or articles or making videos. I just love that element to it. Yeah.
Nice.
Totally makes sense, because I don't remember what I know it's something related to like WebSphere or something that I saw your presentation on, but I was like, she's like, you're a natural, like, and I've seen lots and lots of talks, right? And some people are like me that I can do a talk, but I'm not like a Venkat or anything. Like I'm not gonna way, and then some people are just really boring, right? And then some people just really have a knack for it. Well,
you're too kind. Honestly, my mother would say otherwise. Like honestly, my first presentation when I was, in high school, so bad. I mean, she loves me, but she was there at the time. It was to her primary school. I was a sports ambassador for the area, trying to get more kids to get involved in sport after school, and did this presentation. And she came up to me at the end and she said, "Look, I love you, but that was horrendous." So yeah, it was a case of just keep doing it till you get comfortable with it. And yeah, I just kept practicing, and the practice made me better. So yeah, definitely not a natural to start with. So don't worry if you guys are out there thinking, how can that be me? Practice makes perfect, for sure.
Yes, I should remember that it's okay to tell my kids when they, I think the problem is now they're getting old enough where you can be a little more honest. But when they're little, it's like you want to just tell them everything's great.
Yeah.
Now it's like, not so good.
You can maybe improve in this.
Yes.
Now, I'll never forget my first talk, and it was, I did a talk for CJUG, which was quite scary. It was a smaller, group of people, but it went fine. And then I did get accepted to Java 1, and that was one of my other first talks. And that was scary because I was getting questions from the audience, and I didn't have any idea how to answer some of these questions, and my expertise was just not broad enough. But thankfully, with the Java community, So many great people in the audience just jumped in and were helping to answer. And
Oh, that's awesome.
that was a part where I began to feel really involved with the community, because then even afterwards, they came up and asked me if they, I wanted some information about this or that. And so it was really good opportunity to learn more as well when you're doing the talks, right? Because you really dive into some stuff that sometimes you don't work with every day, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why I love it. Whenever I have a small group, like especially like if it's a newer talk, I'm like, all right, how does this work? Like, this is helpful for you, like, so I really enjoy that, because then I can
interactivity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So speaking of that, what is? I noticed that now you're an advisory developer advocate. What does that mean?
So it is totally just an IBM term. So we have various different, I guess, like titles that are attached to different band levels within IBM. So we start off with, I think it's assistant or something, and then it goes up to just developer advocate, and then advisory developer advocate, and then senior developer advocate, and then after that you're pretty much into sort of executive level. So yeah, it's essentially to show, if you go onto my LinkedIn, you'll see the different titles, which is basically just a promotion.
I did that before the job. So okay, because I have seen senior, and I get that, right?
Yep. We have quite a strict process in IBM as to like which band you can be to be called senior.
Okay.
So yeah, not quite at that level yet, but hopefully one day.
I suspect that went too far for now.
Well, I appreciate it.
And while I was perusing your LinkedIn profile, I noticed that you recently got an MBA. So I'm curious about that.
I just got my graduation photo through, actually. Yeah, so it was exciting.
So why did you decide to do that? So
I've always kind of been interested in the business side of, and understanding the business side of the organization. I kind of get the technical side. I understand the logic behind it, but understanding balance sheets and understanding strategic decisions and sort of more of the leadership style of things, how to lead, how to manage teams, how to manage a business is not something I've ever been sort of exposed to. So I was really interested to be able to understand more about that side of things. And I was quite lucky that here in the UK, we have an apprenticeship scheme, which means that I was able to do it without paying any tuition fees. And yeah, so the UK government pays for my tuition fees so that I can still keep my role. So I was working full time and studying part time on the side. So I apply my learning at work as well as doing the theory, which I found super helpful, because it really helped to like reinforce that learning and actually understand how it could be practically applied. So I really liked the blend between theory and practical, which the apprenticeship gave me.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it was really cool.
I must admit I'm a little jealous, because I when I was in college or university, my plan was to get an MBA. I got a Bachelor of Arts, strangely, in computer science. And then I was going to get it just means less math, which was fine with me. But I took lots of other humanities stuff and music stuff, so it was great.
Nice.
So my plan was to get an MBA. Like, that was my plan all along, because I wanted to like run a software company or whatever. But it was the .com boom, and I was like, I can go out working now and get hired easily. And so I did that instead. So part of me still wishes I had done that. So
well, you can always go back.
I tell myself that, and then I think about how much work that would be.
It is tough. It is tough. The same here for me.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, and there were people on my course with new babies, and I just do not know how they did it. I was glad that I did it at sort of this stage of my life.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, like, maybe in a few years when my youngest is like, a teenager, then I'll have a little more time. So
yeah,
I can't imagine doing that with a newborn. That would be crazy.
Oh no.
Tough. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. So I know you don't have much time left, but I am curious. I guess there's a couple of questions I have for you. So you primarily work on like the open liberty sort of cloud native world of things. So what are your thoughts on like, the future of the Jakarta EE and microprofile and those sort of APIs and everything?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the team that I work with closely, especially in the UK, lead a lot of the specifications within those. I think they're a fantastic sort of real community-driven specifications. And I love the fact that, because before I came into IBM, I thought every company was very secular, very like inwards looking, this is my stuff, don't touch it. And then I suddenly got exposed to this world of open source and collaboration and people working together from competing companies. And it was completely mind-blowing in such a positive and refreshing way. And I think it's such a great thing that we're able to utilize these specifications to really drive forward innovation within the Java language to keep it modern, fresh, and up to date, so that we can really utilize the cloud as an infrastructure as effectively as possible. I think if it wasn't for the community and open source projects like these, I think Java would have fallen maybe behind quite a bit, and we'd be playing a lot of catch up. If not, I think a lot of people might have potentially moved to other languages like Go, for example. I think it's the fact that we have such a vibrant community that's so well supported with open source projects like this that means that Java is as strong as it is. Even, as I said, I am literally younger than the language and it is still thriving. So it's so lovely to see that. And I think that these specifications and these open source communities, like microprofile and Jakarta EE, are going to continue to grow and are going to continue to provide, new APIs like we're seeing, like Jakarta Data, for example. They're continuing to innovate. They're continuing to add new capabilities to our Java applications and new innovations. So I think it's a really exciting space. And if you're interested in sort of getting involved in these communities, there's always space for that. We've talked about getting involved in the Jakarta EE documentation, whether you're involved in creating the APIs or supporting them or helping out in any capacity, there's always room for more people to contribute. So yeah, definitely check them out if you're interested.
Yeah, we'll put a couple links in the show notes, and I think that's a really good point, because what I like about it is it's actually pretty easy to contribute to the Jakarta EE projects, which is kind of cool. It's like, and from doing the documentation, we've gotten like all these. I create a lot of really simple issues for people to work on, and people have been doing them. It's kind of awesome.
And the nice thing is that a lot of people look at open source communities, say if they're not necessarily in a pure dev role, and they're like, but how am I going to contribute? Like, I'm not deep in the technical stuff, but actually there's loads of different ways you can contribute to open source. It might be project managing, it might be writing documentation, it might be creating blogs or tutorials or video tutorials, or getting involved in the technical stuff, depending on what you're interested in. So like, there's so many capabilities and tasks that need to be there to support this open source community. So don't be scared. Jump right in. There's some simple issues like Kito was mentioning. Try them out. If not, ask in the community. Ask if there's another way that you can get involved and help.
Yeah, definitely.
I should mention that there was a great session in the Jakarta EE live stream, Jakarta One live stream, about getting involved with Jakarta EE, and they did a great job of going over all of those things and giving examples of how to do it and whatnot. So check that out if you're interested as well.
Yeah, I'll add that to the show notes.
Was that Tanya and Eva?
Yes.
Yeah, some great guys there that really involved in the community.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're in doubt, reach out to them as well, because they're for sure going to help.
Yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to them. They'll always get back to you and with great information usually, it's
definitely
great.
So if you're curious, in the show notes is stackedpodcast.com, STACD podcast.com. You can find links to all that stuff. So
I've got time for one more question if you want.
Okay. Do you have a question, Josh?
I think you're on a roll. Go ahead and continue asking.
So I think somewhere else, just so you know, I stalk all the guests on LinkedIn before we have. So I saw that you had done some work with diversity. So I know that's always an issue in the tech world.
Yeah, for sure.
what sort of work have you been doing? What have you been seeing?
Yeah. So I mean, it's a topic that's really close to my heart, really. I went from, so when I was in school, I went to an all-girls school and we were a science specialist. So at my school, it was
That's awesome.
expected that you would do science and that you would, you know, there were many engineers in my year that were all female. There was no sort of bias or prejudice against STEM subjects and being female. So suddenly to come into computer science, and I was the only female graduate out of 40, was a real shock to me because I just wasn't used to that attitude or that sort of prejudice or bias. So yeah, it's definitely something that I felt coming into the industry, and something that I'm trying to sort of do my part to improve. I think really where it starts out for a lot of people is right back at school age. The earlier we can showcase role models and really encourage them to see that this is a career path that they could choose, is vitally important. So actually, I've been working with kids as young as sort of 7, 8, helping them get started with coding. We have something called Scratch. So I don't know if you guys have that program. Yeah.
Awesome.
So one of the guys I work with at IBM in Hursley has created a Scratch program that allows them to utilize Watson, so they can actually use AI, which they find mind-blowing. You know, as soon as you start telling them you've basically made your own sort of Google Home or Siri, they light up. They just get so excited that they've been able to do that. So we're able to showcase, you know, how to train a model, how to then utilize that model, how to improve it, all using drag and drop through Scratch.
Yeah.
So kind of programming logic, but not necessarily having to know a language, which is quite nice for that age range.
That's amazing, yeah. That's
nice.
Nice.
So yeah, working with them all the way through. I've run coding boot camps using Python and other languages at the IBM site for secondary school girls, so high school age.
Nice.
And then also doing like things like interviews, like presentations to local schools, just any way in which I can put myself out there as a female that they could look at and say, hey, she's doing it, why couldn't I? Especially because I'm from the same area that I now work in. It's quite nice to return and say, look, I grew up in this area. I'm just like you guys. You guys could do this if you want to. So yeah, those kind of activities are really important to me, and I'd love to see more females getting involved in sort of computer science and software engineering.
Yeah, me too, definitely. My wife was a CS major, so I remember that there was like one other woman. She wasn't in my year, but in my year there was like 2 women, I think I remember, from computer science. So like hasn't gotten a whole lot better, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah, there's still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, definitely. All right,
it does seem to me that the last few years, maybe, or maybe last 5 years, it seems like there have been more females getting into software development. You know, because back in 2010 and 2011, 2012, when I was going to conferences, it was more rare to see female developers there. So it's been very positive the last few years, I think.
That's true, and I've certainly seen a lot more developer advocates out, which I think is really helpful. And it's also nice to see some female tech entrepreneurs like Honeycomb.io and stuff like. Yeah, that's really cool to see. Definitely. As well. So
it's great to also because, you know, the whole diversity thing, everything in development is better when you have a more diverse audience and a more diverse group of developers, because everybody has different things to bring to the table, different ways of thinking about problems, different ways to resolve issues. And, you know, so it's always great to have teams that are diverse, and because I think it brings more value to projects.
Definitely. There's some like super clear examples of that where, for example, like the Apple healthcare app, when they first released it, they were talking about, oh, we cover everything, like we monitor everything that you could possibly need to identify health issues. And then a female kind of piped up and was like, you don't follow menstrual cycles. Like that's a big sort of sign if something's wrong. And, you know, it's not without that diversity. And there was another example where someone with multiple surnames couldn't fill in a form because they only allowed for one surname, because all the developers on it only had one surname.
Right.
You know, without that diversity, you're not catering for everyone. So yeah, we definitely need more diversity to make products better, really, for everyone.
Yeah. I think about this when I try and use my email address. It's my personal domain is man.house. It doesn't work in like 20% of all websites. Like
Yep.
it's valid. So all right, Grace. Well, I really
Cool.
appreciate you joining us.
It's been so great to join.
Been great having you here.
And I'm sure we'll see you around at a conference or something in the future.
Hopefully, I think I'm coming to Dev Nexus, so hopefully maybe see you guys there.
Yep,
Yes,
possibly.
I will definitely be at Dev Nexus. I'm doing a talk on. Oh yes, I have a new talk called Evolution of Web Application Architectures. That's my
Oh,
talk.
fun.
I like that.
Um,
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, I've been really thinking about software architecture history for a while, and I was like, since I haven't written that book yet, I'll just start doing talks on it. It'll get me a little bit closer to the whole process. So,
There you go.
Sounds pretty cool. Well, I'll
Nice.
hopefully see you guys there.
all right, thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, good
Excellent.
evening. I know it's late there.
Thanks so much. Catch you guys
Take care.
later.
Bye-bye. Okay, so that was awesome. We're not done yet.
Definitely.
If you were trying to leave, you were not done yet, but we're almost done. So yeah, it was good having her on.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's do some picks and then we can wrap up. My pick is pretty straightforward. So in my consulting role, I often play different hats. Sometimes I'm a team lead, sometimes architect, sometimes developer, whatever. Lately, actually, for one client, I'm doing a lot of QA because we didn't have any resources for QA. So we made a lot of changes. Wrote a lot of software. We needed someone to test it. And I was thinking, probably one of the tools I use the most is Snagit, which is just a screen capture tool. But it's been around forever. And I know, most operating systems have screen capture built in, but Snagit is like sort of the utility belt for it. Like you can create a screenshot of anything. You can then mark it up with little arrows. So I don't know how many little pictures with arrows I've created with Snagit. Like, it's a lot, and it's really fast. Like, so I'm able to explain a problem in some, a page or a flow of operations that someone needs to perform to reproduce an issue like really, really quickly. And also it has basic recording capabilities. It's not going to be like a super powerful, like if I were a YouTuber, I probably wouldn't use it. But if I want to create a quick video, I can do that as well. So
Nice.
you can use it for that. And you can edit the video inside Snagit. I mean, it's not going to be the best video editor ever, but if you mess up a little bit, you can edit that out.
Something to do quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Nice.
And it's on, I think it's on Mac, and I think there's Windows, maybe Linux.
Okay.
And so if you do something where you actually need to take a lot of screen captures, you should definitely check it out. So
Yeah, sounds like a good tool.
yeah.
Yeah, I get sick of doing the screenshot tool in Mac OS. It's kind of a two-step process every time, kind of a pain. But Snagit sounds nice. I'll check it out.
Yeah, you can configure shortcuts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
Nice.
you have a pick for us?
So my pick is just Vision OS, the developer tools for the Mac. If you've not gotten into this yet or not looked at it, basically what this is all revolving around is their new headset that Apple will be releasing here, I think within the next few months or a year here for sure. But this headset is supposed to be kind of like the Meta headset, and it, where it will give you the virtual reality, and you'll be able to develop applications using Xcode, and it really works in much the same way as if you were developing an iOS application, by the way of using the different scenes and whatnot. And it just uses Swift UI, if you're familiar with that. And there's a great documentation set out on the developer.apple.com website, which allows you to go from the beginning. Just I've never looked at Swift code at all before, to getting into an application and using their virtual tools on your machine, because I'm guaranteeing most of you don't have a headset. I don't have a headset, but the Vision OS tools that are built into the Xcode enable you to see what you've developed. So I kind of went through and developed like a ball that I was able to kind of move around the screen in 3D, and like a cube that I could spin around on this thing just by clicking your mouse on the screen. Kind of gives you an idea of what it will look like in that headset, and just a really interesting way to look at development from a different perspective.
Yeah, and you've got me interested because obviously I am not trying to buy one of these headsets.
Yeah,
I think how much are they now? I mean,
I don't think that this initial batch of headsets is going to be targeting the mainstream audience. I think it's for, probably for companies that are looking to develop applications and products, based upon this, but
yeah,
it's going to be in the thousands, I think.
yeah, that was my impression. But looking at the site, it's like they're talking about developers behind DJ, Blackbox, Jigspace, XR Health, and I was like, DJ, that might be kind of cool. Like, it sort of really does sort of open up the possibilities. So,
and I'm always kind of thinking, what way could we make development even easier, and of course, writing code, it's going to be hard to write code, standing up or walking around and seeing code in front of your face. I don't think too many people want to do that, but you think about something like maybe Scratch or something where you drag and you drop these things together, and I wonder if that would be easier to do in a virtual environment, or you could have some kind of a 3D area to work with. So all of these things are always ideas in my head, and I think that there's definitely some possibilities out there.
also, like building UIs might be interesting.
Yes.
You could I don't know if I'd want to do this, but if you could like physically grab items off of the palette, put them on the,
to build a web page or something, website, things like that. Yeah.
Might be interesting. So
yeah, definitely. I think there's definitely options out there, and definitely some future discussions we'll be having on some products that have come out for this thing or for other virtual, visual things. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, my son has been bugging me for an Oculus forever.
Oculus, yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know about that, but but I am kind of surprised to see all the different things that are out for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right.
It definitely has a space.
Yeah, definitely, and it's going to get more and more interesting between that and voice.
Oh yeah,
it's going to get really interesting. All right, so before we wrap up, there are other Pubhouse Network podcasts you can check out. You can find all of these at pubhousenetwork.com. And there's Breaking in Open Source. I should stop putting in the show notes because you haven't updated that in a while.
Probably not going to be updated for a while. It's just been getting more tough for Bob and I to kind of get together and do this.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully someday we'll do it.
Yeah, it's a good idea, definitely. So there's the Off Heap podcast, which Josh is also a member of. So if you like him, you should check it out. And even if you don't, check it out. And the Java Pubhouse as well. Off Heap is more newsy, right? And Java Pubhouse is more like in depth. Does that be a good way to keep the difference?
Yeah, Freddie and Bob do the Pubhouse, and they always do a deep dive into some Java tech. So whether it be like Loom or some API or something that they want to talk about, they will go into the details of that and spend the entire episode, and it's great. And you learn a lot. And Off Heap is kind of like a high level discussion about tech news, really, in general. It focuses on Java. We really have lots of Java news in there, but we do discussions about all of tech if it kind of pertains to the coding space. So, yeah, check it out.
Cool. All right, so we have some upcoming events. The first one is CodeMash, January 9th through 12th in Sandusky, Ohio. This is one of my favorite conferences. It is a lot of fun. There's an indoor water park, which it's not the biggest part of the conference. Really, the reason it's fun is just because they're really good at having different events and all sorts of, they have like game night and casino night, and it's just a really fun conference.
It sounds like it. Sounds like a good one.
Yeah, you should come sometime, Josh. It's not that far from you.
Yeah, it's not. I'm talking earlier about how these conferences are so far away, and that one's probably only 8-10 hours away from me. It's not that far.
Yeah, it could be a lot worse.
It could be.
Yeah, so anyways, you should check that one out. I'll be there this year, talking about a couple of things. I'd have to honestly look, but I'll be there if you want to see me speak, so I'll be there as well.
Nice.
So also Geekle Java Dev Summit. This is one that Grace added, which is an online summit, and actually I'm not familiar with this one. So
I've never heard of it either.
Yeah, cool.
It does look interesting though.
It does, and yeah, best practices and innovations for Java for 2024. So that'll be January 16th through 17th next year, 2024. Vox Days, CERN, January 22nd to 23rd in Switzerland.
Yeah, nice.
You want to do a couple, Josh?
Sure, I can do a couple. If you've got JChampions Conf coming up in January, this will be a good one. It's been online since its inception, been online, and probably will be for the long haul. And this is a great conference that is all Java champions. So if you're interested in seeing some great talks by people who are definitely experts in the area, check this out. You also will be able to see all of the back episodes or previous sessions. If you go to the website, we've got all of the last few years up there for you to see. That's happening January 25th through the 30th. And then JFocus is happening in Sweden, February 5th through the 7th. And this is, from what I've heard, is a great conference. You've heard lots of things about it too, Kito?
Yeah, I think I went there once a long time ago, and I really
okay.
So yeah,
nice.
Definitely the conference.
Yeah, it seems like another good one. And then Vox Days Zurich, that's coming up in March 7th. Another good one. And then on the US side of the house, we have Dev Nexus coming up in April 9th through the 12th. And if this comes out before January, I'm not sure the CFP may still be open for that. So if you're looking to put in a talk.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Dev2 Next conference.
Yeah, that won't be till next year. I mean, late next year, I'm sorry, September 30th to October 3rd. So
yeah,
I guess it'll just be on our list for a while. but
yeah, I've not heard of that one before.
This is actually Venkat's.
Oh, nice. That's right. It's a new one that he's going to do. Yeah.
So this is from Venkat Subramanian, with a whole bunch of other people that are well known in the community, including Sharat Chander, Mark Richards, Murray Kugleski, Neil Ford, etc.
You can't go wrong with that conference for sure. Those names.
And I kind of want to go, even if I don't speak. It might be fun.
Yeah, it's got to be a good one. Great information, I'm sure, and great hallway discussions for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So that's going to be in Colorado next year. But my guess is whenever tickets go on sale, I'm guessing that'll sell out pretty quickly. So keep your eyes on that one.
Definitely.
All right, man. Well, I think we've come to another episode of Stacked. Come to the end, and thanks for joining me, Josh. Glad we were able to hook up.
Yeah, it was a great one, and I hope you have a great holiday, because I know that the holidays are coming up, and so I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, same to you. My guess is we will not record again until January. So
probably.
So so for all of you who already had your holidays, I hope they were great.
Yeah. Kind of like a Back to the Future type thing here.
Yes. Happy 2024.
Yes, indeed.
So, all right, man, good talking to you. And you can always find us at stackpodcast.com or in your favorite podcast app. Thank you for listening.